Normally, the first thing we do is approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was the April meeting. I think, now that I think about it, because we didn't have a meeting in May because of Memorial Day weekend. And I can set these out, and actually we can approve them at the end. And if anybody really wants to review them, they can. There was a lot of information that we shared at the last meeting, partly about the One Seattle plan, and partly about a renovation of this building, and partly about events that are coming up. So a fair amount going on. I'm going to go a little bit out of order. We've got the agenda, but I'm going to go a little bit out of order because Brendan Levy is going to speak for a moment about what's going on with the McGilvra School and give us an update as much as you can. And he needs to go on to another McGilvra related meeting. So why don't you come up, Brendan, and tell us what's going on.
Thank you very much for going out of order.
And Octavia, I'll take notes while she's not.
Okay, it's fine.
So as many of you may have heard, thanks to some changes made before COVID and during COVID, Seattle Public Schools faces a major budget shortfall of like $100 million. Unfortunately, the way they propose to close that shortfall is sort of just by summarily closing 20 neighborhood schools, including McGilvra, which, if you don't know, is just up on 38th. It's a beautiful building. It looks like it's right out of kindergarten cop or something. It's got a great community. I'd say, the kids love it. I think we in the community love it. The school is over 100 years old, although it's been seismically retrofit. They built a beautiful new cafeteria. There are soccer fields outside. So I think it's a really great neighborhood school that serves as an asset to the parents of kids that go there, but as well as, there's a huge number of alumni in the community, people whose grandkids go there, people whose kids will hopefully go there in the future. So I think it's not a foregone conclusion that McGilvra will close. I think what a lot of parents in the community are working on is kind of banding together and showing the state that they need to change the way that we fund schools so that Seattle can get the funding it needs to have well-resourced schools and getting all the resources for kids of all across the spectrum, but as well as supporting neighborhood schools that are kind of important assets and bring people into the Seattle public school system. So if you'd like to be more involved, we are reaching out to legislators as we kind of get ready to gear up for, it seems like it's so far away, but the January session of the next state Congress, as well as helping to lobby the Seattle School Board of Directors and the others. The big news, so on June 26th, they'll make an announcement of the preliminary closures. Even if McGilvra is on that list, we still are going to push hard to kind of keep McGilvra off that list. It's one of the schools that's most efficient, actually, with the money that's being spent. So there's a lot of great reasons to keep it open. I could go on for a long time, but if you'd like to be involved, if you care about McGilvra, if you just think that having an elementary school here helps benefit our community, feel free to reach out to me, brendanlevy@gmail.com. I'd be happy to help connect you. Senator Peterson, who represents the 43rd District, has been down to visit McGilvra. Other state legislators are aware. There's a lot of stuff moving. I would love your involvement. If you just want to write letters or anything, feel free to reach out to me or connect with Octavia and Friends of Madison Park. We can get connected and help advocate for Madison Park and for McGilvra Elementary.
Thank you.
So I was thinking maybe it's just worthwhile to pass around a pad of paper, and if anybody wants to leave their email and phone number, contact info, I'll be sure that Brendan gets it. So I'm going to just pass it around. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I'll pass that
You beat me
around
to
in a
it.
minute. Well, first thing first, now that everyone's here and ready.
Yes.
Okay. So I would ask if anybody would make a motion to approve the minutes from the last neighborhood meeting, which was on April 29th. Do I get a motion? Cam, any seconds?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. So good, those are approved. So we have, okay, now, am I supposed to go to
Go into whatever.
order? Whenever.
We can keep us informed.
Okay. Well, one of the first things I just want to start off about talking about is the Beautify Madison Park campaign. I don't know if people have been walking around in the business district and have noticed the 10 new planters that we have installed in the business district. And hopefully, it's a small beginning, but it is a beginning, and hopefully those seem like they're adding some richness and some greenery and some beauty to the business district. We have 2 people who are maintaining them and doing a really nice job. And there are also, if you were a donor who has donated $2,000, there's different ranges. And I'll pass this around so you can take a look at this. But there are legacy donors, and there are plaques in honor of family members and friends, and 39th Avenue East and Hillside banded together, and their neighborhood helped co-sponsor one of the planters. The initial cost is a little steep, in that it's $2,000 between getting the planters, putting in the plants, and then watering and maintaining them for the year. We are hopeful that we will continue to raise money throughout the summer so that we can add 10 more planters and start the process of planting underneath some of the trees along the street and around the corners, and just little by little really beef up the plantings and the greenery in the neighborhood. So I'm just going to pass this around for people to see. If you are interested, any donation is so helpful. Some people are donating $100 as Keystone donors. That's a little different than what this says, but there are anywhere from $100 to co-sponsoring. Getting your neighbors together is a really fun idea. On the 39th and East and Hillside group, it was a total range from $25 to a sizable amount, and they cobbled together the money, and then we have another planter and a care for it for a year. So I'd love to get feedback from people as we go along. I know some people were initially concerned that it might block people's ability to get in and out of cars, but I think if you see them now, that's not an issue, and that's our goal, is to make it pedestrian friendly, but just bring a lot more richness to the neighborhood. So I'm going to pass this one around too. It's a passing game. And if you want to be involved at all in any part of that, please let me know, whether it's planning what we're planting in some areas or areas that you think ought to be addressed. We are very interested in everybody's feedback. The other thing that part of the Beautify Madison Park campaign is to be sure that we're kind of keeping everything as clean as we can. We're going to work on getting the businesses more and more involved and helping to do that. But we did a spring cleanup, which 50 some odd people showed up for that. And I've talked to the city, and we're going to do one again in the fall. I think we'll wait till the leaves have come down as much as possible, because it becomes quite a mess. So it's a little bit colder and a little bit harder work in the fall, but that's the plan. And the city provides the pickup for all the yard waste we collect, and they'll provide tools, and we've got their backing. So it's a good thing to try again, do again in the fall. All right. I always bring this up, but one of the real benefits for us, for Friends of Madison Park, and for you, for the neighborhood, is to try and increase our monthly subscriber base. So online, you can subscribe anywhere from $10, $15, $25, $50, or $100 a month. And that just keeps feeding the ability for us to bring events and keep them free. And or at a very minimal cost. So coming up, and we'll talk a little bit more about each of the events in the summer, we've got the Children's Parade and Picnic. We do go to sponsors from the different businesses, but we don't always quite make enough to cover our expenses. And a big part of how we cover our expenses are the donations that you all give to the neighborhood. So if you would, be interested, it is on the donate page, and you can sign up to be a monthly subscriber. And I always thank those of you who have already done that. It's wonderful to have that regular income. The newsletter is coming out every 2 weeks or so, give or take a little bit. So you can find, if you haven't subscribed to that, please do, because that really keeps you up to date on what's going on, what we need, what's been happening in the neighborhood. Try and keep that full of information. The Madison Park Times is, as you may have noticed, they are no longer putting their newspaper in the periodical boxes. They have now sold those, and the location for getting the newspaper is either the different realtors, they all have them in their stores, or you can try and subscribe. And if you have tried to subscribe, you know it's not an easy task. You write an email and you don't hear anything back. It's not like a one click, or you can give your money at the time. What they have said is they have, I think it is over 4,000 subscribers that they have had for years in the community. A lot of people have moved, and a lot of those have lapsed over the years. But in order to get bulk mailing again, they need, I think it is 200 people to write an email that you think is going nowhere. It just says info@Madison Park and say you want to subscribe. If they can get enough people to do that, then they can afford the bulk mailing, and then we can get it in the mail. They do have an online version of this as well, also a little bit hard to get updated. But I think obviously we want to continue to support them as they are. They are one of the methods of us getting our information. So we put an article out every month as well. And then the other thing I would just say is, if you're willing to volunteer for the littlest job or the biggest job with some of these events, you'll have a great time, and it really helps, whatever the event or project is. So there is the volunteer page, and all the different options are there. So we need someone to help in development. We need some administrative work this time. We are trying to work on systems that make it efficient for us and get quick information to the neighborhood as well. We want to increase our subscribers substantially. We have 530 people who subscribe to the newsletter as of today, which is really great because we started with like 0 less than a year ago, and but we would love to be doubling that as well. So if you just pass the word along, it's really easy to subscribe on the home page. There's multiple places you can subscribe, but to try and do that would be wonderful too. Children's Parade and Picnic, Anita, you're in charge of volunteers. How are we doing with volunteers? Do you need more volunteers?
We have about 22 right now.
Okay.
If we get some strong people that want to help haul stuff up to the park before and after, like the barbecue and the snow cone machine, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, I'm at my volunteer thing. So there is, here's a list of the events. We have done some editing on it today in order to give you a little bit more update of what the upcoming events are and some of the things that we need help on. So I'm going to pass this around again. You may have seen it before. You've been at a meeting. I pass it around every time. But if there's something that looks like fun to you, or you'd be interested in being involved, that would be great as well. Well, so the next part was to talk about the financials, but our treasurer couldn't come tonight. So I will just say that we are doing well. We have a little bit over $30,000 in our checking account, which is also a nice upward climb from, we had 3,000 when we merged with the Madison Park Community Council a year ago. So we are increasing that. We have some larger expenses coming up, and I'll describe those probably in a few minutes. So I'm gonna let Margie come up and talk about the emergency hub.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. So, hi everybody. I feel like I've met a few of you. This is Margie and I'm Dana, and we're co-captains of the Madison Park Emergency Hub. And I just kind of wanted to take a poll and raise your hand if you've heard of the hub and if you know where it is. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, so I can already share some good information. Very helpful. The hub, I'll explain what it is, but it is basically located in a box by the tennis courts right there. And what it is, in the case of an emergency, a disaster like an earthquake or anything where cell phones and internet service are unreliable, so that you wouldn't be able to get help or information, or in a situation, say, when our neighborhood is cut off from emergency services, and we want to try to communicate with the outside world. So what we have developed, they're all over the city, are these hubs, and they're meeting places for neighbors. And when this kind of situation comes up, volunteers, and it's all volunteer run, meet at these stations. In the box for the tennis courts, we have tables, canopies, and materials. We have handouts to give people, and we have posters that say things like, they talk about like purifying water, disposing of waste, medical, basic medical things. The other thing we have is some systems in place to help people connect. So the main purpose of this is to help people offer things and get things. You have a generator, you need a generator. You need something charged. It's going to be a big need. You have water, you have you learn to turn off your hot water heater, so you have some water and you have more than you need for a few days, and you're willing to share. So we have a whole system of these stations that are manned by volunteers. This has been a great system being developed over a number of years, and it's actually really fun to be involved with and to brainstorm this stuff. The other thing we have is radios. We have, Margie can show you. GMRS radios. It's kind of short range, but they can connect to repeaters, so we can connect throughout the city. It's a lot of fun. There's a Monday night check-in, and we've heard from people as far away as Mill Valley and Kent. So we do a check-in, and mostly we hear from Seattle hubs because it's a dedicated check-in just for hubs. So we know that in the event of a hub, we'll be able to talk to at least other hub mobilized stations. So that's kind of fun. What we don't have at our hub is food, water, and medicine. So we also won't, watch your pet. We won't keep lost pets. Don't bring us lost pets. We would like to, but it will be all volunteers who are able to come to the hub, who have taken care of their own needs. Their family's safe, their friends are safe, and they have the energy to want to help other people, which we think there will be in abundance. So let's see. And so, yeah, I have one other question. We have a handout that about the first things to do after an earthquake. And so I just had a question. It doesn't have to be from the handout, but does anyone have an idea of what, if you say you're in your home, what's one of the first things you would do if there was an earthquake? You wake up and, anybody want to go to a Georgia Jam? Go to Georgia. That is a little bit out of date, but they say to stop, drop, cover, and hold on. So you actually should find a table. So I would be under here and grabbing onto a table leg. So, but great, yeah, that door jam is, I don't understand why, because it just seems like that would be a safe place from getting hit in the head, but apparently a table will protect you from rubble.
So if you're in bed, what would you do? You might be able to go under the bed, at the very least roll on your stomach and cover your head, because you want to protect your head. So we learn about these things, we're all in the learning mode, and we all share information, and we practice, and we encourage you to begin to practice, because when something awful happens, you know, the part of your brain that comes into play is not the thinking part of your brain. So if you've built in some responses, I know the first earthquake I went through, I started running out the door past all this glass windows, and I knew better, but I was panicked. So the more we practice and the more we learn what to do, I think we'll do better.
So feel free to pick up that handout. We
Yeah,
also-
where is this?
It's by the door.
Yeah,
on the
so
table.
this is just kind of a quick summary of 10 things to do.
Like right away.
Right away, immediately in that
Yeah.
moment. So I actually have these posted in a couple places in my house, because even though I helped write it, I'm not sure I remember what to do.
Yeah, my favorite tips from there are to keep a pair of shoes by your bed. Next time you buy new sneakers, put your old sneakers, or, you know, better yet, something sturdy, by your bed. So that way you can walk over glass. These are not fun things to think about, but they're practical. So anyway, we brought a handout on the hub with a little more information about what does the hub do, what does it not do, where it is. So feel free to grab one.
Pick
grab a
those up
couple.
over there.
And the main reason I'm here is to mention that we have a drill in September, and we are looking for volunteers to help us run the drill. We have all kinds of fun roles to play, and we also would love people just to walk up and help us practice. So we practice by giving people little slips of paper, and they pretend to be, say,
In distress.
in distress. you
Or
know.
have extra supplies. So you
Yeah.
come up and test us. Do we
Yeah.
know how to help you?
Yeah, yeah.
And where would we send you, and how
Yeah.
would we connect you to one of our canopy tents?
Yeah, you don't have to be creative, we pre-wrote them for you, so you just have to be able to read.
But
off
it's
the
a
piece
great
of paper.
family event, bring
Yeah.
people that
Kids
you
are
know,
welcome to
have a
come.
picnic afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, so anyways, September 22nd, we'll hopefully come back with more tips, and, but anyway, if you're interested in knowing more, getting involved, or just getting on our mailing list, the email is on the front of the brochure, so, thank you, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
I will also add that we're gonna put your event, the September 22nd event will be on our website. And you are on, the emergency hub, information about the emergency hub is on our resources page on the website.
Thanks.
I want to just say that I think Friends of Madison Park is the first step in emergency preparation, because really the very, very first thing you need to do is know your neighbors and know how you can connect with other people and be in the community spirit. So thanks for setting that foundation for all of us.
Okay, we did McGilvra, and I'm gonna have Kelly and Catherine come up and talk about yoga classes that are being offered this summer here at the preschool.
Hi, my name is Kelly Aranon. I'm on the board of the co-op preschool as the community outreach person. And something that we do for our co-op that helps to fund our rent is we give back to the community via doing different events that actually subsidize things for the community. And one thing that we have partnered with Catherine to do is we are sponsoring $15 yoga classes, and it's happening in specific Friday and Saturdays. So I'll put this flyer at the back door here if you're interested. I'm additionally a real estate agent at Windermere. I've got a little flyer of farmers market dates if you are curious about other farmers markets that you want to check out. I'm going to research maybe having a farmers market in Madison Park. This is just a quick, easy thing that I'll keep at the door too. Catherine has been lovely. She really, really wants to help get more yoga and spirit in the community. And so I'll open the floor to her to kind of speak more about what she teaches and to also do an activity.
Okay, thank you, Kelly, and thank you for having yoga. So many people have said, I want to be able to walk to a yoga class, and you can walk to a yoga class this summer. So there'll be yoga classes, they're weekly, and it's an alternating schedule. So we have a Friday at 6 p.m., that's a restorative. There's a Saturday morning, 10 a.m., that's a half a level, all levels class. Everyone can do my classes. Most of each class, both classes, generally will play a lot of time is spent on the floor. So you can get up again, that's great. If you can't get down and up, we'll give you a chair. So it's for everyone, and the point of the yoga, I teach it, I include somatic movement with it. Sorry about my voice. So it's to release stress Nobody has that, but in case you do. Unlock joints and muscles, also releasing fascia for better balance, big issue. And retraining movement from injuries. So maybe you have an injury from 20 years and you've been compensating for the injury for 20 years. Don't wonder why something hurts or feels off. So a lot of what I do is to restore that. It's a therapeutic movement. There's yoga, but it's open to everyone. So I'm better at teaching than I am talking. So let's just take a moment, if you will, to do a breath of awareness technique that I like. If you can either soften your eyes, just soften your vision, or completely close them, let the lids just drop over your gaze. And take the, not your dominant index fingers. If you're right-handed, use your left. If you're left, take your right finger, touch the tip of your nose. And using your nostrils, take a breath in. Feel the coolness as the air enters, and the warmth as it exits. And again, coolness as the air comes in, warmth as it leaves. One more time, inhale, coolness, followed all the way in. Exhale, warmth, followed a few inches outside of your nostrils. Just pause, you'll breathe again. Lower your hand back to your lap. Listen to the sounds around you in this room. Listen to the silence and the sounds. Open your eyes. And you just were inside of your body, and you can do that as quickly as a minute to come just back to yourself. There's just one piece of the somatic work that I use.
And the next class is gonna be Saturday at 10 a.m. So if any of you guys are interested, you just come here around 9:50, pay her via Venmo. Of course, bring your own mat if you need water, that as well, but we'll just have it here on the carpeted area, and then you can walk home after.
Or float.
Or float home, yeah. It's been great.
Levitation is
We've had really good attendance, and I can attest to the fact that I feel so good every time I've taken a class, so. Please come, and these will be up front.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the next is public
Shoot,
safety.
Steve.
Yes, it is, yes.
Hey, everybody, I don't have a huge public safety update, this month, but I will just say that we are still working on the idea of connecting all of the businesses, both in Madison Park and in Madison Valley, in some kind of business group chat, so that they can share when things are happening, either in the moment, if there's like a problem person roaming the neighborhood, they can share that around, or if there are trends, late night crime that they see, they can share that around and keep awareness high. We're still landing on what platform we want to offer the businesses on, so kind of stand by for that. But that's the main thing that we're working on right now. Obviously, we have a lot of other safety concerns, but I think we're going to talk crosswalks in a separate slide. So that's my main thing right now, is just know that that work is still ongoing. We are hoping to wander around, kind of connect all the businesses so that they have a single place where they can share what's happening. It's kind of like their own ecosystem, so not just on Nextdoor or something like that. Yeah.
There is increased crime all over the city, at least if you believe the 11 o'clock news.
Right.
One of the things that everybody says, if we just have a presence, we tend to have less crime. Have we given any thought? I did an experiment last month. I lived on 42nd here, and I walked around and said, how many times in a 30-day period did I see a police officer in Madison Park? The answer is 0. Now, that was just me, one person. Your thoughts?
I do think there's value to having a presence. Myself and a lot of my peers hang out in this neighborhood. We live over in the valley, but we hang out here often relatively late at night. I saw some police in the neighborhood the other night because I had to call them. And so I do think having a presence and being around and being just more visible as a neighborhood person is a good thing. Obviously, I would encourage everybody to not pursue any kind of vigilante justice. There's no reason to confront people. We want to call the police. Whether or not the police will respond in a timely manner, I'm not sure. My own personal thing the other night was there was a person in the neighborhood who was kind of going through the businesses and causing a ruckus, and she eventually got to a point where it was clear she was interested in like self-harm. And that got the police down here within about 30 or 40 seconds. So when things do get serious, the police do respond. When it comes to patrolling the neighborhood, I think given SPD's current staffing and image issues, we're not gonna see beat cops down here anytime soon. But I do think that, yeah, if we can all just be aware of what's happening in the community, especially if we have an opportunity to take late night walks, and see what's going on, more eyes is gonna be more attention, and that is gonna help. Maybe not deter crime, but at least respond to it a whole lot faster. So I do think that's important. When it comes to the idea of an organized presence, that's where I start to back away a little bit. I think that if folks wanna get a block watch together, absolutely work with your neighbors. Like the hub folks were saying, knowing each other by sight and knowing each other's names and contact information is one of the first best steps that we can all take. Because if you have a question about what's going on down your block, you've got someone you can reach out to and say, do you know this person currently breaking into your garage? You know what I mean? And so I do think it's valuable, and there is some benefit to doing something like a block watch program. But that's not something that I think that we can organize kind of at a community level until we get to a point where we can start having a conversation about official security. Kelly?
I also
Sorry.
think it's extremely apparent how many more people are coming into the community with summer starting up and the beach happening and kind of what happens around that. So as you said, just having awareness,
Yep.
communicating, you can kind of tell who lives here, who doesn't live here, if you're here long enough and walking around like you said. We know our neighbors.
And even beyond who lives here and who doesn't, it's in my experience as someone who is down here and outside kind of in the business district pretty late, it's easy to tell who's causing trouble and who's not.
Right.
Right, because we welcome plenty of people from all over the city down here to enjoy the beach.
Yeah.
And I don't want to stop welcoming those people.
Right.
They bring a lot of business down here, and obviously packed beach in the summertime is awesome. But we want to make sure that we're keeping eyes on folks and we know what's going on. Yeah. Grace?
Yeah, kind of to add to what Kelly was saying, a little bit of what you just touched on, we want to be a welcoming community. I think one of the beautiful things about being kind of a beach community in Seattle is you can treat it almost like a microcosm of a resort town. Make it a point to say hello to people you pass on the street. Be friendly. They'll know that you noticed their presence. You looked at them, you made eye contact. You can provide a description of them if they get up to anything shady. But most people won't be off put by that. Just a quick hi there as you pass them by. They know you noticed them, and maybe you'll just get a nice hello back. Maybe you'll make a new friend, but if nothing else, I think it just helps people know who might be up to no good that people do see them and notice them.
Yeah, absolutely. And no social commitment to remember those people that you meet. I'm straight up with people. I say, I'm not gonna remember your name, but I'm Cam and it's nice to meet you. And that at least is, like Grace is saying, the connection. Did you have something? Oh, definitely.
I just want to say it's also great to stop and acknowledge positive things you see, not just be on the lookout for negative things.
And one of the things too, on our website, on the resources page, we have a lot of information on how to set up a block watch if you want to. And really the essence of this, and we just did it with our block, we live over on 41st between Newton and Madison. And we just got together and people have got together and just gotten everybody's contact information, including their pets and their children, and an emergency contact. And it's an easy thing to do, and it was a really nice gathering on our particular block of just everybody. A lot of people knew each other, but it was just a really good thing to get together.
Related to that, we just got a notice through the emergency hub that the Seattle Police Department is having their night out website where you can register to get your block closed and have a little block party. So that website is open now, it's live, night out. And you can sign up and get permission or register to close your block for a block party, and they happen all on the same night ideally for this.
And we did our block party on a different night, as it
Yeah.
turned out. Because I don't think theirs are on the weekend, it's like on a Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing ours on a different night, and it is really simple to get that permit. The the city is very supportive of free grants, and they want to make it happen. The other thing that I was gonna mention is we have met with Joy Hollingsworth, our city council representative, and we have talked a lot about, how, police presence or, some sort of presence, and she has been realistic with us that the East Precinct is way down on a police force, and, but she's wonderful, and she's trying to move that along, as much as possible and trying to increase the presence. We have also had discussions with some of our neighbors, in the area who have talked about hiring private security, and if potentially the businesses down here wanted to be part of that they could also do a loop around in the community. That again is sort of in progress, but I think we're all aware of the increased crime for sure in the city, and not pretending it's not happening. It's just, it is a slow process, and I think block communication, if you know everybody on your block, that's a huge step forward, honestly, or in your community, if you're living in a condominium or one of the apartment buildings, it just makes such a difference just to know who's around you, to be able to communicate. That sort of segues into the public safety issue of our crosswalk here. And Claire and I have been meeting. Claire, you want to come up too? Claire and I met last week, or we're doing Zoom meetings with a representative from the mayor's office. And you have sent multiple emails trying to get some progress. And Brendan, who is one of the representatives who spoke earlier about McGilvra, one of his children is at the preschool here. And he had also contacted the city SDOT to see if we could make some progress. So why don't you share what you've learned this week?
Yeah, so it sounds like they just today, I think, updated us that they've added it to like their agenda that they're gonna work on. They're not able to provide us with a timeline because all of the crews are at full capacity right now, but it looks like it's on their radar now, and we should be able to make some progress here pretty soon on it.
It is, obviously, I wish it was done yesterday, and that we had at least a real crosswalk from the playground or from the corner here over to the beach and over to the bathhouse here. I know we're on the list. We're also working with the mayor's office, and today communicated, can we push this a little bit harder, because we are such a destination place for so many families. And I myself know, I have my grandchildren, they always run ahead of me. And we get to this corner and I'm always holding my breath. So it's a real issue, so many people flowing from the playground here, and people run through that stop sign. So we're exploring a lot of different possibilities. We want to get the crosswalk. I think it's optimistic to think we'll get it this summer, because we have offered to raise money to maybe push it along and see if we can't get the neighborhood to help, the funding, because funding is always an issue, but it sounds like honestly right now it's more of an issue of staffing than it is of funding. So we are on the list, and thank you, Brenda, thank you, Claire, for that. So we're working on that, and I'll just give a couple more updates of things that we discussed, that we're discussing with the mayor's office, and hopefully, and with the neighborhood office. And one of them is trash pickup, trying to increase the trash pickup during the summer because of, the number of people here. I think you've probably noticed there are a couple of dumpsters, lovely dumpsters, and there's also a couple of porta potties out here. It really looks nice. But at least the dumpsters are here, and they came this morning on Monday, and they picked up all the trash from that. So I feel like they're hearing that part I should say the porta potties are out there because one of the bathrooms is now not functioning, so, you know, it's always, what we're finding is it's okay, who is the right person in that right department to be talking to? So we're trying to work with the city, with the mayor's office, to get their push to get us connected with the right people and to have that department know the mayor's office is watching. So I feel like we've got a good connection through the mayor's office right now. Graffiti is obviously still an issue down here, and that apparently, supposedly, is something that the mayor is very interested in trying to control. And we gave the mayor's office a few suggestions on how that might get improved, so we'll see if anything comes of that. We have also invited the mayor to come and speak at one of our fall, winter neighborhood meetings. We'll see if we're able to get him, and I know Brendan has talked to 2 or 3 representatives to come, and it would be great to have Joy Hollingsworth come as well, so that we can have a bit of a panel and a lot of more citywide issues can be addressed, including the One Seattle plan, safety issues, parking. One of the other things we're working on is that if you've noticed, or maybe you noticed, that there are no longer particularly defined parking spaces anymore. All the lines have disappeared over the years. Trying to get that done. A lot of sort of simple but important things. Okay. Any questions on any of that? Yeah.
Along with the parking restriping, are we gonna work on getting fresh signs? Because some of those back-end angle parking only signs are so faded, you can't read them at all.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Hadn't addressed that one. That's a really good plan. We're trying to do that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Regarding the crosswalk, would it be useful and helpful for any of the community to write letters? And if so, could you provide a contact name and address?
Okay. I will do that. I'll put that on the website or in the newsletter, so everybody can have it. I think letters, yeah, always help. Okay, we're gonna move on to, I'll bring up one other, the fall cleanup. I mentioned that before. There have also been some concerns, and I brought this up in the newsletter, as everything is starting to grow again. Things are creeping into the sidewalks, and we have a range of little kids on bikes and older people with walkers and everything in between, that if there's overgrowth on the sidewalks, it can become an issue, potentially a hazardous issue for people. I'm just bringing this out, we're not in the business of policing what people grow or how they grow it. I think it is a matter of just being neighborly. If you feel it looks like you're 2 or 3 feet into the sidewalk, it's time to prune back that hedge, and we'll just keep reminding people, and hopefully they will notice it. And there are, again, on our resources page, there's information about what weed and sidewalk clearance needs to be. And I know that many years ago there was kind of a monitoring process, and people had little tags left on their doorstep to remind them to bring back. We're not there at this point, but that's a lot of resources and energy. But just to say it's something we should be aware of. Yes.
Yes, this is just an informational question.
Yes.
How do you determine how much sidewalk space each merchant here in the village gets? Because I note that Madison Cafe and the Wolf have larger spaces than the flower shop or the bakery. I'm just
Mary Kay,
asking.
you might.
Pardon?
Mary Beth might address that, because your neighbor right there.
Oh,
She-
that's right. You didn't tell me you knew the answer.
Yes.
So are you talking about the, sort of the covered areas where there's like patio seating?
And the use of the park, I would assume.
So those are permitted spaces.
Maybe I want you to stand up so everybody can hear you properly.
Hi, everyone. So this is kind of so it's left over from COVID. There were emergency declarations during COVID that allowed restaurants to have these cafe licenses, so people could do outdoor seating, to be socially distanced and still remain serving food and things. My understanding, and it's a little convoluted, is that, now that emergency declaration is over, but restaurants are still allowed to apply for those permits on an annual basis. And they're renewed once a year. So How to Cook a Wolf and Madison Kitchen are allowed to petition the city and apply for those cafe licenses once a year. And they can be renewed, and I don't know what the fee is, but they pay the city. There is, in my understanding, again, this is all sort of like behind this, it's kind of a mysterious process. There is an open sort of time where community members are allowed to express their opinions to the city. But I've tried to research when that takes place, and it's very difficult to find. So I think we sent out the website and the email address in one of the newsletters. If it would be helpful to do that again, or put it on the website someplace, or so it's maybe a little bit easier to find. I think the best course of action, if you're curious about it yourself, is to send an email as sort of a member of the community. You might get the best response that way. Because yeah, I know as a member of the community, you are able to express your opinions. But once that sort of window of time closes and that permit is renewed, it's renewed for a year, so at that point in time, they're able to keep that open for a year.
And that's all through SDOT, is it not? Department of
Yes.
Transportation.
Yes.
Seattle Department of Transportation.
I know, it's like, what?
Anything that goes on the sidewalk.
Sidewalks, yeah. Does that answer the
Yeah.
question? I mean, as much as I can answer that question.
The contact information would be really useful.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Yes,
I guess I don't have, what is the negative?
I've heard, I think I've heard more about How to Cook a Wolf specifically.
That's the one I have beef with, Becky.
Yeah, it's a park.
Tell me what I don't
That was a park that the public was used to using, and now we cannot use that park.
There's lots of lovely seating.
And I don't
area,
think that
like
even
benches
Stoll
built
needs,
in and-
needs our help making money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the one that really bothers me.
I just moved here like right before that happened, so like I didn't really have I don't have an opinion on how that park was used before it became.
It wasn't, it was an open, those sort of structures weren't there.
Yeah, the covers weren't there, the tables weren't there, it was just an open park with seating.
And I
Go to the
think,
bakery and bring your food over there.
yeah, and I think, during the week, I have seen people utilize the space. I think now they're doing brunch, so that I've heard a bit more, feedback. I think now that brunch is starting during the weekend because that space is now being utilized
It
more
wasn't
often.
utilized until 4 or something like that.
Correct,
4
yeah.
Until it opened, and now it's being utilized more. On the upside, they are the ones who, well, there's a little bit of a bond here. They're the ones who are maintaining the plantings.
They do pay a landscaper to maintain those
But they let them all die before there was.
They did, but, and then Friends of Madison Park pays the law.
I know. No, but because there's some history to that park.
Yes.
The
Yes.
dog and the birds
Yes.
and the benches and Lola's contribution,
Right.
And I don't think they had any idea about the meaning to people that live here,
Right.
what
Right.
that park represented.
So if they took down the ones that are like out on the sidewalk, they would still have some outdoor seating in front of the restaurant.
There were a couple of two tops,
I
yeah.
mean, even Bing's had some tables sort of flushed against the like window space, Bing's was a, yeah, that cafe.
We looked at our house and it was gone by the time we moved here, so.
So there was always a bit of outdoor seating there. It's really just it's the stuff that extends into the Triangle Park space that is the seating in question.
So I guess I don't have an opinion.
But if you do.
Isn't there also an aesthetic, you know, if you wanna build out into the public space, make it a nice looking
You don't
building
love
rather
Boston
than,
by Forest or
Like the Cafe de la Paix on the Champs-Élysées.
I mean, Mary Pat, we would love that.
I wasn't gonna bring that up. I'll back you up on that, sir. I think the one in front of Madison Kitchen, I've seen better carports at trailer parks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think a lot of, and I am part of the bar restaurant community, and my husband owns a bar on Capitol Hill. We do not have one of those structures. We have opinions on them. You know, they take away parking, which is another big, piece of controversy. But people were desperate and people were getting things built quickly during the pandemic, and it was a tough go of it, and so that's why those structures were getting put up, sort of looking like that. There was no extra money to make things look beautiful and nice. It was out of desperation, frankly. Yes, Marta?
Has anybody tried going in and just talking to them as a community member about your concern?
The city can still own restaurants, so there's.
Yeah, but there's a manager there, you know, I mean.
Amber is lovely.
I really
She's
think, I
lovely.
keep thinking we have to bypass the people involved and go to somebody in authority. I think a community expression of your concern and the history of the park, and can you help us figure out what to do about this? Rather than starting right away from an adversarial position. I say that maybe naively that's already been tried, that's why I was asking.
I mean, isn't he a member of the Seattle, I mean, he just lives, he's just a person, like, can't we just take it up with Ethan Stoll and like see even his management? I don't know, like, I mean.
I think it's
Because if you,
I
I
think it's
agree,
definitely an
like, if you go
option.
to it from like the top, then it looks like a battle right from the beginning.
Well, and part of it, from our standpoint, from Friends of Madison Park, there are differing opinions on it. And we have just felt like, okay, well, we can direct the community, here is where the permitting process happens. And if you want to express a concern or support, whichever way it goes, that's probably a simple way to do it. Likewise, I agree, having a dialogue with whoever the owner is or the manager is makes some sense. Some people seem to really enjoy it. I mean, we all love Madison Kitchen, right? I mean, so it is an interesting balance that we are in, and just wanting to be sure that the community has the information.
Yes. I
And
think
that's where we're standing.
from my perspective, these are also the two businesses that we, you know, will be oftentimes asking for sponsorship of our events. So we don't want to burn any bridges. A diplomatic approach, I think, is a.
Well,
is an
I
excellent
did
way.
go to them a couple of years ago and said, we're looking for places in the winter to have our emergency drills, and that space would be ideal, and it would be a community service you could do. And, you know, I think that it's possible to keep on them about this is a community space, and we want to share it with you, or we want you to share it with us, or however. And if they hear that often enough,
I agree.
This is controversial in every city. In New York City, they were to be off the street by November 1st. Now, of course, the proprietors were fighting that, so I don't know if it went through, but that was one of the decisions.
I think it always is controversial. Yeah, I agree with that.
There's also a fairness and equity argument. We have all these merchants who have beautiful spaces just in front of their stores where they have their flowers and all this sort of stuff. And they're aesthetically attractive. And then we have two that are less aesthetically attractive. And they, because they got the permit from city during COVID, I totally understand that. They're getting a better deal than the rest of our merchants. And I think we can take the position, we want everybody to be treated the same, no better, no worse.
I hear you. I mean, I do think it's a complicated issue. I don't think we're done with figuring this one out.
Because I think we all have opinions. In front of the pharmacy, the repairs to the sidewalk and the falling down planter around the tree. And, you know, I caustically said it looks like a dollar store with all the stuff out for sale. That's, you know, again, it's opinion.
It is.
But I
I'll
think
say on
that
the
if-
planter, that is part of our Beautify Madison Park, is to replace all the.
If we could
stuff.
fix the sidewalk, you know, rather than, I mean, it's so ugly.
So, and then there's the, yes, a lot of the trees heave up, the sidewalks as well. Okay, we probably should move on.
I will definitely make sure
yes.
the contact information is available to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
So, Candace, bring you up and,
Oh, my goodness. All right, hi, everybody. I'm like a minor member of this committee, and I'm the only one here tonight, so I'm covering the presentation. I know you're here, I'm just trying to take the heat off of both of us. So Kevin and Ryan and Brendan had to split, they couldn't be here tonight, so I'm just gonna give you a really quick update on this concept of the bathhouse committee. So if you've been to one of our community meetings in the past, you know that one of our pie in the sky ideas with Friends of Madison Park is improvements to the beach area and potentially improvements to this structure. So we wanna just know what the community is thinking about this, and I'll get to that in a little second. But to talk about some of the things that we've done here, okay, maybe could you run through some of this with me? I attended a couple of these meetings, but I don't know that I'm as confident as I should be about running through kind of this timeline. So when we say improvements, you know, we're not just talking about the bathhouse, we're also talking about like dead grass out there. You know, what does the actual waterfront look like? We're not really like pursuing any particular agenda necessarily. We're just taking a look at what exists at Madison Park Beach and could it be better and serve the community in a greater capacity.
And we started this process, several months ago. And one of the things that we have done is we have now partnered with the Seattle Parks Foundation. And they help communities, with anything that is shoreline. And it's a shoreline restoration, focus, I would say. And they work with nonprofits like us. And this, if we wanted to do some renovations on the beach, they will help us navigate grant writing, what this concept would look like, working with the Parks Department. That was one of our first steps. And today, actually, we had a meeting with a company, a woman named Ann Spooner, I'm just gonna go to the top of it, who is a landscape architect and she has worked on, that is the focus of their company, Anchor QEA. And it was really lovely to kind of walk around with her and look at the beach and look at the bathhouse and look at the park and see what potentially is here, because nothing has really been updated and the Parks Department doesn't really have the funding to maintain right now what is here. And the pier, the dock is old and too high and splintering and graffitied, and the beach has lost a lot of its sand over time, and the lawn is just looking a little peaked. And the building itself, this building was built in 1937, and we have also been working with architect Stephen Sullivan and Andrea Amoli, who do classical buildings, and just felt like a potential good match to start to think about how could we renovate this building, the bathhouse, so it still has the classic feel of this neighborhood and the history of this neighborhood, and doesn't become some imposing gigantic community center. We obviously have all sorts of shoreline setback issues, we have height issues, we have always the purpose that the co-op preschool that has been here since 1970 would be part of this renovation if we were able to do it. There will be more access for the beachgoers and water options, kayaks and paddle boards and things like
Yeah,
that.
I think like connectivity for all the different areas of the park and facilities are really what we're thinking about, right? So like Octavia mentioned, you've got the pier, right? Like I know when I'm hanging out at the beach, all the teenagers are jumping off the pier, they're having a great time, but it's old and it's decrepit. And there's a huge kind of functional break between the pier and the beach. And then there's a huge functional break between the beach and the park. And so how can we kind of weave these areas together so that it feels a little more cohesive? And then take a look at this structure and you know, yes, we've got the preschool, but other than that, we just have one functioning bathroom and the lifeguard stand. And how could this structure serve the community maybe in a more holistic way?
It's a really good way to put it. So yeah, go ahead. Yes.
No, I just
Ken.
wanted to segue in because I actually met with Octavia recently, again, kind of representing the preschool for a moment on the board. We also have ambitions of doing renovations, and I had mentioned to her that we should definitely try to get in lockstep at some point.
Mhm.
One thing that we did this spring with the preschool was we raised money to repaint the outside of the bathhouse. So that will be taking place probably in September. You'll see that update. We might put some planter boxes outside and maybe some new updated signage. But I think that we are in agreement that like, what's the long-term vision, and let's make sure that we're in communication and probably on the same committee, so
Yeah,
we're
for
not
sure.
doing two different efforts.
And this is an extremely long-term project.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Any action we take on this is, I mean, I would, at a bare minimum, 5 to 10 years down the road.
We're looking at probably a 5-year, that's the optimistic, and that's what Parks Department thinks, the Seattle Parks Foundation thinks that is possible. We have met with the Parks Department, Andy Shepherd, and I was assuming we would get pushback from the parks. They are all on board with what we're talking about. They really want it to be a partnership. Obviously, they can't fund it all, but they want to be very much in the process of how we're doing this. And that has started off really well. We will go meet with SDCI, Seattle Department of Construction and something.
Inspections.
What is it?
Inspections.
Thank you. And we're doing it as a team from the Parks Department, from the Seattle Parks Foundation, from our architects that we're working with, and from the landscape architect. We are also working with Scanduzzi and Krebs, who works with nonprofits for these kind of projects, to help us raise funds. Residential, locally, we'll be doing a lot of grant writing. We'll probably be putting in for some levy money. There is, as you can see, it's a big undertaking, but I think the benefit, I think we all think, the benefit to this community is it's a legacy. It's a huge benefit to the community. So, and citywide, I mean, it
Yeah.
goes beyond that.
And-
We are also very cognizant of the parking concerns that go along with this. So that is another thing we've been talking about a good bit, so.
Yeah, and just to speak personally, I think part of the reason I am on this committee is because my first reaction to this plan was, oh no. And so we've really baked through this whole plan, the idea of preserving the character of the beach, and the character of this structure as well. So I don't want people to think that we're gonna be facing massive change. I think we're just gonna be looking at serious improvement is a way that I would really put it. Just to make it a little bit more useful. We're not talking about building a baseball stadium down here or anything and inviting tens of thousands more people down here. We're just trying to come up with a facility that is a little bit more up to date and a little bit more functional.
So one of the first steps in all of this is doing a survey of the community.
Absolutely.
And this is way down here, but I will, if you would want to come by, and we have put together a survey, we're still sort of tweaking it, I would say.
I think it's okay if people start taking the survey, even though we're gonna tweak a little bit as we go. But yeah, the survey is pretty open-ended. It's largely like, you know, how do you use the beach now, and what improvements would you be interested in seeing to the beach or its facilities? And then honestly, just a lot of geographic and demographic data, because we wanna know who's using the facilities now, and what part of town they're coming from. Is this largely just us here in the community, or is this most of our users coming from somewhere else? So it's a pretty open-ended survey, kind of what would you like to see, and who are you, in a not personal manner, not what your name is, just kind of who are you. And we're gonna be trying to flyer the beach during the summer months. I think we said all the way through September, right?
Through the end of August.
Through the end of August.
We're shooting for 500.
So to September. So this will be eventually on the website, and we've got some printouts right now if anybody would like to scan this QR code and take it tonight. I've also got little flyers over by the door. If anybody's like, I'm not gonna scan that right now, I'll take one of these and think about it later. Feel free to go ahead and do that as well.
And that's really important for us before we can move ahead with the city. We really have to get a broad feedback from the community.
Yeah, this is not even something that we've decided we need before we move on. All of these different, very, very smart and experienced people that we've discussed this with have said this isn't gonna work unless you have this data. Kelly?
We do a newsletter at the preschool. It goes out to 85 families. So if you want to send me the QR code, happy to put it
You
in
got
the
it.
July newsletter.
Absolutely, yes, totally.
Yeah, we did touch on it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Is it mobile friendly?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I feel like people might just.
It'll be,
sit
it's
there.
designed so that you can take it in your swimsuit at the beach.
Yes.
Transportation, are we going to keep number 11 with the rapid ride?
That's the plan. We have no intention of messing with number 11. But, and I've got to say, you know, the rapid ride, as far as I know, all of that is intact, and we are, you know, there have been enough surveys, I think, from transportation and bus services to be sure. I know it has changed, but it is not being reduced. That was my last word that I got. I don't trust, don't take my word for it in 2 months, but that's where it is
No
right
one
now.
seems to know.
It is kind of a shocking problem. But I will again, I posted on one of our newsletters about who you can get more information, and I have been in touch with transportation, Department of Transportation, but it is one of those things that you just have to stay on top of. So, which, you know, always brings me to, Claire has been, she is our city liaison, and she is asked to reach out to a lot of departments. If anybody else would like to join her and be able to help contact a number of people, that would be great as well. Okay, I think that's good. Any other questions on this at this time? All right, well, let's talk some fun stuff too.
Music and park.
Yeah, music in the park.
I can update my slide, maybe somebody did for me. Okay, so Music in the Park is happening in August. We have bands set for each Thursday. And we now have sponsors for every night, which is so exciting. Very thankful to our local sponsors here, Windermere. I'll read them out. Windermere, Coldwell Banker Bain, Wickland Real Estate, and Transform 180, which is in the old, formerly Denali fitness space. And then Aegis Living will be sponsoring 2 nights. So we've got our sponsors and our main sponsors in place. We're still looking for any kind of donations that local businesses want to make. We're also doing a raffle, so we're right now kind of going out to solicit some raffle prizes. I also submitted a grant to for a Small Sparks Fund, which is through the Department of Neighborhoods. I had a great conversation with our project manager there today, who is reviewing our application, and she said she felt optimistic, which I was like, I don't know if you should tell me that, but if she feels optimistic, then I do too. So we're hoping to do some kind of elevated staging this year, which will be new from last year. That's helpful for viewers, but also for bands to give them a more stable place to play. That was an issue for a couple of the bands last year, especially the ones who had a lot of different instruments. Volunteers, we're looking for volunteers. I think I've emailed everyone who was on the list before, but if you haven't heard from me, feel free to put your name on the list and I'll get you that way, or reach out directly. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great event. We're really looking forward to it. Should be fun for all.
Which also brings me to the, even earlier, we have the children's parade and picnic. And this is what I would say got us off to a great start last year when we were starting Friends of Madison Park. So it's July 13th from 12 until 2. We have the fire engine will be there again this year. The kids will line up. There's lots of decorations for them to decorate their bikes or scooters or whatever they're on. Lots of games, watermelon eating contest. You guys are all welcome to participate in that. And there's going to be some music and some dancing and a balloon throwing contest and sack races and just all kind of things that young kids love to do. So that's free. Music in the park is free. And we do have some wonderful sponsors again. We've gone to the businesses, Woodside and, what is it called, Woodside and Eckert. We've just, they're all at the bottom. And every little bit has helped and we're in good shape for that. But again, these are just kind of the things we want to keep doing and all being free. Which also leads me to, we are going to have a kids concert series this year. And Park Shore has donated $3,000 to help us sponsor 5, it'll be 5 Saturdays starting in October through March, if I can count correctly. And those are, we are still trying to figure out where that venue is going to be, maybe here. On a Saturday morning. So for people with young kids and it's a rainy day, this will be a great outlet for them. And let's see, Art Walk is going to be September 13th. Am I jumping too fast? Oh, good. Art Walk will be September 13th, and it starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and goes until 8. And if any of you have an artistic bent and would like to apply for having some of your art displayed. The art application and all that information is on our website. That is sponsored by Home Street Bank, but Friends of Madison Park always works to promote that as well. Let's see, which else? Oh, yes. We have a party for the park coming up in October. Becky, you want to come up and talk about that for a few minutes?
We are having a fundraiser. It is going to be a fun fundraiser, but it is a fundraiser at the Seattle Tennis Club on October 12th. And we are working diligently to get sponsors involved, to get volunteers involved, and we're hoping that it's going to be a really amazing night. It's going to be a silent and a live auction. And we will have a few fun games that will have a fee to play, but should be lucrative if you win. And we'll have a very short program involved just to tell people about what they're donating to, and then we're going to have a band. A DJ with dancing at the second half of it. So it should be a really good time, and I would really love it if anybody would like to volunteer for that. It could be a volunteer for our, helping us get auction items, helping us get sponsors, or just really getting your friends to put this date on their calendar because it is going to be a lovely evening. And just making sure people are aware of it. And I'd love to know what questions anyone has about this event and just kind of feedback, opinions, anything. Sure.
Have you checked in with Leshire Market? They're often very helpful. They're one department, especially with fundraisers.
I don't think that we're allowed to bring any outside alcohol to the, that is an amazing suggestion. And we were looking at that. I mean, they could potentially donate wine for one of the games that we have going on, so I'll make sure to tell Ann about that. Yeah, sorry, I spoke too soon. See, this is, I'm not the auction procurement, Ann is handling that, but I will mention that to her, because that is a great place, and they are very nice there, so that'd be awesome.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about what the games are? Is it like?
Oh, no, it'll be a whole surprise. That's just kind of a fun thing, kind of like somebody walking around with a raffle, it's just something like that, kind of just simple, and that would, maybe I shouldn't even have said it. That's a surprise. I was just trying to promote the fun. It's just a night to dress up. Tickets are gonna be on sale, I think July 15th is what we're shooting for. We're gonna have an early bird ticket price, so, with you to purchase your tickets early, and then they will go up to full price. I can't tell you that price right this minute, because we're still working on that, but we're hoping to have about 200 people there, even maybe a little bit more. And, it's a chance to maybe dress up a little bit, come have some drinks, listen to some nice music, hear, see like a little presentation about Springwood Park. We're having an auctioneer come and help us with the live auction. We're gonna have some great items and silent, so it should be really fun. And dancing. So if you have any other questions or if you'd like to get involved, please touch base with me or Octavia, and we'd love to have you. It'd be great. Thank you.
There's something else I wanted to say about that, but it's going out of my brain.
Oh.
It's the end of it. Okay, farmer's market. So everyone, we were talking up the farmer's market a little bit more a few months ago. Realized we were trying to move a little bit too fast to bring it to Madison Park, but we are following through with that and feeling very hopeful that come next May, June, we'll have a farmer's market for the next summer. And it will start a little bit small, see how it all goes, but it would be on Thursday afternoons in the late day. So we'll keep you posted on that. We'll know a little bit. Oh, movie night? Welcome to the neighborhood. Those are all new things to me.
I don't know, Kevin put this together, I'm just pushing the button.
Okay. Well, movie night sounds like fun.
We'll need a bigger projector.
Huh?
We'll need a bigger projector.
Well, little dominant space, too. And we have been wanting to have a welcoming committee, and have somebody in charge of that. And so no one stepped up to the plate on that one, but hopefully that'll happen at some point. Anybody got any questions?
I just wondered how the pub crawl went. That looked interesting. And was it a fundraiser? I don't know much about it, so.
So I will say the pub crawl was sort of initiated by McGilvers and the Attic and Nick's, and we promoted it, but we weren't really a part of it. I think there was a turnout, but I don't know how big, honestly, when I was out of town. But it's something, McGilvers, the businesses themselves would love to have more events kind of related to the business, and this was one, idea is let's do a pub crawl. As we all know, they're very involved when it comes to Halloween, and a lot of people are around for that. And so we're gonna try and build on that and potentially have it be really part of Friends of Madison Park. One of the things that I feel like Friends of Madison Park wants to do and is starting to do is to help the businesses promote their events. And so when the Red Wagon has something going on, we want to let the community know it. When the bookstore is having their book club, we want to be sure the community knows it. And same, they're gonna have a sidewalk sale, we want to be sure the community knows it. So, I don't really know the answer.
Okay, actually related to that, this is more of an idea, so maybe I don't know if you need more ideas, but when I was living in San Francisco, we did a lot of, like guest bartender events where I think the guests, like someone from the community, like a personality or something would come for a night or a certain hours and they would be the bartender.
Like the same kind of person you'd put in a dunk tank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think the way that we did it was, or that we had structured with the restaurant we worked with is that, or the bar we worked with is that the person would get tips or would keep the tips for whatever cause they're promoting. So that might be something that some of the bars along here might be interested in doing. And
So we should
potentially.
hold Courtney into the
Yeah.
Courtney Kennett, who's the manager over, I think everybody knows Courtney, over at McGilver's, yes. Okay. But-
When's
And-
your shift, Octavia?
What, what?
So when's your shift,
Yeah.
Octavia?
Also, are we getting a dunk tank?
Not me.
There's a lake right there.
Yeah, go that way. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, did you ever figure out what the bacteria issue was from last year at the beach?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you know, Karen?
You know, I can just say that the beach closes every year for a couple of random weeks due to high bacteria levels. It's something, there's a lot of different potential causes because there's a lot of different types of bacteria. So it could be anything from like algae overgrowth, like they suffer with up at Green Lake. It could be, you know, I've certainly noticed the week after Seafair with all those boats out in the lake, it tends to close.
Okay, 'cause back when that happened, and like, Madison Beach was a lot higher, like so much higher than everywhere.
Yeah, and I just don't know. You know, I know that, you know, obviously our streets run off into the lake. I know that it kind of started here and then it seemed like Madrona closed for a week as well. So I'm not sure what the issue is, but I know it's a relatively common thing, just maybe not this early in the year.
Last summer, there was a sewage leak between Madrona and Madison Park beaches as well.
Oh, that's right, I remember that.
Yes,
Yeah.
they canceled, they had to cancel that salmon last.
Yeah, so it could have been something like that, but we haven't heard anything official from the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else? We're early. Good night.
All right.